Welcome back to Pop Dissected. Today, we're going to be reviewing and discussing Taylor Swift's short film for her 10-minute version of her song, All Too Well. The song has been a longtime fan favorite since its release, with many critics and fans alike claiming it to be the best song she's ever written. Starring Sadie Sink, Dylan O'Brien, and Taylor herself, the film chronicles the lyrics of the track, following Sadie and Dylan as their blossoming love slowly begins to crumble, leaving Sadie devastated and heartbroken. So let's dive in, giving a brief synopsis of the film before we dive into discussing the film as an art form itself, and finally, talking about any hidden Easter eggs or theories people have brought up about this video. If you're excited to hear more about the pop music world and all your faves' careers, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to stay up to date on a variety of music discussions. Be sure to turn on post notifications so you can be the first to know when a new video is out. The film is divided into 7 different chapters, the first being entitled The Upstate Escape. In this chapter, we see Sadie and Dylan, cast as her and him, in the bed together. Her ponders their relationship, unable to believe how something so perfect could exist. We then watch her leaving the infamous red scarf at him's sister's house. We follow them as they speed through the woods, embracing in the car before hiking to a beautiful lakeside view. Here, we have the relationship between her and him set up. It seems blissful. Her can't fathom how she could be so lucky to have someone like him. It's very romantic, almost this utopia of love. Though we know how this story will play out, it's so impactful to have these lyrics be reflected in the film's action. It presents a foreboding heartbreak that we know is coming, yet we have no choice but to witness it play out. These inevitable situations and storylines make it so much more impactful. The first crack in the glass is the second chapter, in which him is hosting a dinner party for his friends. Her reaches out for him's hand, yet he tosses it away and gives her a condescending pat. The lyric, "Thinking your future was me," plays over this shot of her realizing what him had just done. It's so simple, yet the shot paired with that lyric evokes the idea that her is now questioning if she will be him's future. We cut to him storming out of the car on a secret phone call, tossing the car keys at her. Again, a shot is paired with a specific lyric, "You held my lifeless frame," as him embraces her following his outburst on the phone, which really drives home this idea of the relationship beginning to fall apart. What comes next is a shocking scene in which the music pauses for a moment, and her confronts him about dropping her hand at the dinner party. Him rebuttals all her claims, implying she's making it all up and overreacting. It isn't until she begins to cry he consoles her and finally apologizes. I've gotta say, this is a hard scene to watch. It's a one-to-one of how partners can gaslight you, make you feel insane, but then quickly swoop in to comfort you so they can mask their own behavior. As her and him embrace, the music comes back in with the lyric, "And I know it's long gone," seemingly revealing how her knows she is now on the path of the inevitable, and there's nothing left she can do to save this relationship. The next chapter, Are You Real?, comes from a line of dialogue spoken by her in the start of the film. We're presented with glorious moments of the two dancing in the kitchen, playing cards by the fireplace, and snuggling in bed. Now, this may just be me, but I wasn't entirely sure if this was supposed to follow the argument scene, or these moments were simply her remembering the good times they've had together. But given what follows next, we could view it as chronological, which in turn can highlight the extreme turbulent high and lows of this relationship, unpredictable and unstable. The fourth chapter, The Breaking Point, shows him apparently breaking up with her. He sits stoically and unmoved as she begins to break down. We watch as her sobs in bed, her phone illuminated by a call from him. We additionally get our first glance into her, beginning to write what seems to be a novel. Her travels to an art gallery, where she shifts her eyes across the room to many different women who are there. I've had 2 thoughts about this. Perhaps she's looking at these women and wondering if they would be the type him would rather date instead of her. Or maybe her feels inadequate against all these women because they're the type that him possibly left her for. A flashback of him talking with her's dad is shown next, another example of how him was able to pull off a charming facade for anyone around, and it wasn't until it was too late that her realized who him really was. Her has a birthday party, an allusion to the moment I knew, where she blows out the candles but stops, knowing despite all her friends that are there, him was the only one who didn't show, when at some point in time, he likely would have been there. The reeling is our 5th chapter. Her lies in bed wearing him's shirt, sits on the floor in contemplation, and then breaks down into tears. We then move on to the remembering next. Him walks down the road, the relationship replaying in his mind. What was such an interesting choice is how we hardly see him appear to be affected by the breakup. Maybe him has regrets, or feels bad, but I think a clever choice was done here. When we break up with people, we can be easily distraught and wonder if that person ever cared or just pretended to. By never seeing him show any regret, we align with her's feelings. It puts us into that direct thought pattern. Did he ever care? Am I the only one in pain? The final chapter, 13 Years Gone, features her, now grown up and portrayed by Taylor. She's at a book signing for her novel, All Too Well. From the outside, we see him, now portrayed by Jake Lyon, watching her. And yes, he's wearing her red scarf. So on to the review itself. I've already noted several things Taylor has done very well in this film. The overlay of lyrics for specific visuals really enhance not only the events in the film, but allow us to align ourselves with her. Through it all, we experience this film as her. Sadie Sink does an excellent job portraying her grief, confusion, and doubt. The way she can capture what someone would feel in those moments is ineffable. If you've ever been treated poorly or heartbroken, those are the faces someone makes of someone who is experiencing just that. It's uncanny. Dylan O'Brien also does an excellent job being an apathetic jerk, communicating so clearly that is how someone like that does behave. Being shot on 35mm film also helps this film capture something of the past. The grain portrays this concept of something archived, long gone, but something that is deeply seated, as if it was a reel of film left in the box of your attic. The cinematography is absolutely breathtaking as well, packed full with interpersonal close-ups that allow us to feel the intimacy between Sadie and Dylan. The lighting is also impeccable, and when we're presented with warmer tones, I think the concept of nostalgia is honed in on. While Taylor has said certain moments of the film are not autobiographical, one can only imagine how much of these events have actually happened to Taylor herself, from sobbing in bed to sitting alone on the floor, waiting. We've seen Taylor direct before, but what this film does is truly exemplify Taylor as a talented filmmaker, of course in collaboration with many other talented individuals. It makes me wonder what other tracks may get brand new music videos in the future. Before we close out, let's talk about some Easter eggs that may have been dropped in the video and some fan speculation. One thing fans were quick to point out was the age difference between Sink and O'Brien, she being 19 and him 30, this reflecting Taylor and Jake Gyllenhaal's ages during the time at dating. Some fans also noticed how O'Brien's costuming throughout the short film occasionally bears close resemblance to that of Gyllenhaal's. Something very interesting was pointed out in regards to the closing scene. With her releasing All Too Well as a novel, some interpreted this as how Taylor herself was releasing the song to share her story of pain and have it be accepted by fans and listeners. Of course, we get to see the red scarf, but additionally, the car in the opening of the film was a model released in, you guessed it, the year 1989. 2 Easter eggs Taylor actually dropped a while before this film was released. In her TikTok, where she reenacts her Tumblr post about fall, the All Too Well novel is in this scene, where she's writing a lyric from the 10-minute version in it. Lastly, Taylor's very first TikTok features her dressed identical to how Sadie Sink was during the dinner scene. Coincidence? Hardly. What has become so powerful about the song All Too Well is how, at some point for Taylor, this was a song about utter devastation and pain, complete heartbreak and loss. However, the fans' appreciation for the track has absolutely changed that for Taylor. One thing Taylor spoke about when she released this film was how All Too Well has now become a shared experience between her and her fans, and that is one of the primary reasons why she released the 10-minute version and the short film. I think it's beautiful that even through heartbreak and a situation that at one time was so devastating, it's able to get new life to it and take on an entirely brand new meaning. So what do you think about the All Too Well short film? Is there anything you wish Taylor did differently in it, or would you have liked to see something else play out in the storyline? What are your favorite parts, and is there anything you're just not a fan of? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'd like to quickly shout out my channel members, Skyhawker, Daniel Barron, and Steven. If you'd like to help decide future video topics, get exclusive chat and comment badges, and receive shoutouts, then I'd love to have you as a channel member. Finally, if you love pop music and want to learn more about it, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell for more future content on all your favorite pop stars.